Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a simple act of kindness leads to thousands of meals being served across our region. And an Eastern Kentucky couple manages to celebrate a special moment in their lives despite being impacted by disaster.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning to you. It is almost 6 o'clock. Well, it is 6 o'clock over here on Heroes and Icons. Good morning to you. I'm Dakota Makris. If you would like to watch Queen Elizabeth II's funeral procession, you can do so over on WYMT. And let's take it over to Brandon Robinson for a look at our forecast this morning. Brandon, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And really nothing other to talk about than, I guess, some fog if I'm seeing your computer screen over there.
Yes.
Correct?
So far, the rain is off to our northwest. We'll show that to you here in just a little bit. But again, the fog kind of an issue for some this morning, but overall not a bad first day of school for the kids over in Knott County, going back to school for the first time since the flooding. Let's take a look and see what's going on with the fog. And you see some limited visibility across parts of the region, so again, be careful if you're traveling out there early. UVA wise, not one of those. Looks like almost clear skies down that way. The clouds may not have made it over that way just yet. 54 in Wise at the airport, 52 in Clintwood and Jonesville, but the further north you go, the warmer it is. 64 up toward Moorhead, 67 Lexington, and 72 in Louisville where the rain is right now. So even some lightning trying to show up there. Normal day on the coffee meter to a little extra because it is a Monday. So again, just be ready for that. And the next dozen hours with the donut forecast, I do think we'll see a few more clouds at times today as we see those donuts clear away and temperatures top out in the low 80s this afternoon. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, the eyes of the world are on Britain as the nation says its last goodbye today to Queen Elizabeth II. CBS's Ian Lee is there and has more on the final farewell.
People rushed to join the line to say a final farewell to Queen Elizabeth. The last mourners filed past her coffin early this morning.
I felt just had to come and pay my final respects to our majestic Queen. She's done so much for us.
Over the last 4 days, hundreds of thousands of people waited to honor the Queen, including kings and presidents.
I think it's such a beautiful way for her to have been sent off with the people around.
The doors to this stage of mourning have closed. Now guests for the monarch's funeral will fill Westminster Abbey. The royal family invited more than 2,000 people, including 500 world leaders. After the funeral, a procession will carry the Queen's coffin through the historic heart of London as Big Ben rings out one last time for Her Majesty.
It's a moment of history. It's a moment that we never get to experience probably in our lifetime.
This woman and her young son camped out overnight in Windsor to get a glimpse of Queen Elizabeth's coffin as it makes its way there this afternoon for her burial.
We have sleeping bags, some food, lots of layers.
10 days of national mourning will come to an end when the monarch is laid to rest in a private ceremony at St. George's Chapel alongside her late husband, Prince Philip.
I don't think we're ever going to have a monarch that's going to reign for 70 years again.
Queen Elizabeth's passing at age 96 came the same year she celebrated 7 decades on the throne as Britain's longest reigning monarch. Today marks the end of the Elizabethan era. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
We are currently airing the live coverage of the Queen's funeral over on WYMT. Well, here in the mountains, Governor Andy Beshear will be visiting our region once again. Today, he will join local leaders and hand out the first payments of money allocated during the special legislative session for flood victims. He'll start in Knott and Letcher counties alongside judge executives and state representatives. His day will continue with infrastructure announcements and other state funding being doled out in Floyd and Greenup counties. It's almost been 2 months since the catastrophic flooding hit eastern Kentucky communities. Knott County was among one of the areas hit the hardest, but the county's schools are opening today. In Lexington, one group is taking action through planned and organized locations. Our Julia Sandor has that story.
Kevin, which way you want the hangers?
In the back of Rayalana in Lexington, there are more than 21,000 items waiting to be packed up and sent to eastern Kentucky. Whether it's furniture, toys, or clothing, all of these items will be heading to a new home in Knott or Letcher County.
There's so many people in Kentucky that need that right now, and we're so glad that we can do our part with the help of our community.
She says these areas need children's items the most, and with school beginning on Monday in Knott County, they say they hope these donations have a positive impact.
Well, I hope the folks of Eastern Kentucky know that they're not alone. And there's folks all across the Commonwealth of Kentucky that are continuing to make sure that we are putting their needs first, and we can help make sure that their little ones have a smile on their face every day, especially as they're getting ready to start back to school.
They encourage people to come out to the donation sites and pick up whatever they need. She says as time continues to pass, they want the people of Eastern Kentucky to know they will continue to do their part to help and be by their side.
Well, we're just Kentuckians stick together, man. We're so excited about that. It takes a lot of people and it takes a village to make this happen. And we are so grateful for everyone that has had a part in that, and we're so excited to be able to pay forward.
They say although it's been a long and hard process, it will all be worth it in the long run.
That was Julia Sandor reporting they'll be taking all the donations to Knott and Letcher counties today. Well, what began as an act of kindness for a friend impacted by the flood quickly turned into an organization that has served more than 70,000 meals across the region. For the last month and a half, Tanya Shepard, Hatfield, and Brent Hanshoe of Floyd County have been feeding those impacted by the flood with their nonprofit Feeding East Kentucky. The pair have been traveling across the region, partnering with other organizations in the process, and Hanshoe says they have no plans of stopping anytime soon.
The need is here for long term, and so I hope to develop a program where we can feed people that's in need from now on. I would like to create an after-school program where we could get meals out to families that need it. And it's not a handout, it's a hand up.
Feeding East Kentucky will be serving meals next weekend as well. To keep up with the organization and where it will be next, you can visit its Facebook page. With historic flooding, inflation, and the other struggles that might plague Eastern Kentuckians, one Eastern Kentucky church is doing what it can to give back to the people of its community. Our Alyssa Williams has the story.
It was following the height of the COVID-19 pandemic that Pastor Robert Amundson with Thousand Sticks United Methodist in Leslie County wanted to create a project to feed Eastern Kentuckians.
The Lord had laid this on my heart a number of years ago for us to do something because we see the need because of food insecurity in our region.
And with the help of another ministry outside of Knoxville, the church began its first drive-through meal giveaway.
We thought because of where we're at, we could be able to reach out to folks and, even if it's just one meal once a month, that, maybe a family doesn't have to worry about spending the money on.
In the 4 months the church has handed out meals, it has even adopted a few community partners along the way.
We've partnered with the Leslie County Extension Office and the Leslie County Health Department, and they have provided stuff for us for families, and we do a family bag and we put those materials in the bags and we hand them that bag along with the lunches.
The church is impacting people like Riddy Adams of Leslie County.
I think it's an awesome thing that they are doing for people because,
It is pretty nice.
Yeah, one meal that's a big deal.
Amundson says the church has no plans of stopping their giveaways anytime soon.
We're not a large church, but we're trying to do our little part to love our neighbors, as we're called to do.
Helping Eastern Kentuckians one meal at a time. In Leslie County, Alyssa Williams, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, the pastor says next month the church hopes to serve breakfast for its drive-through meal giveaway, followed by a Thanksgiving-inspired meal for November and a Christmas dinner for December. Well, Kevin and Teresa Breeding got engaged last Christmas Eve with plans to get married this month. And despite their house and wedding venue getting flooded, they still exchanged vows on the 10th. Around 4 feet of water hovered at Kevin Breeding's house, making the idea of a ceremony held there seem impossible. But he and his wife worked to clean up their yard and keep the dream on schedule.
We just still wanted to have it here in the yard, and that was our original plan.
Well, Kevin says they plan to keep their trellis in front of the house as a memory of their wedding.
Good to see that progress over in Letcher County. Good to see the kids in Knott County going back to school this morning. I'm sure they'd probably disagree, but still, it's a sign of progress that we've been needing to see for quite some time. Let's take a look and see what's going on this morning on the satellite and radar. And you see some rain trying to come in from basically to the northwest. That's basically where that front is kind of stalled at, off to our northwest. And we'll see again as we take a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar, some heavier bands of rain trying to show up. But when it switches over to the Louisville radar, you can see most of it is over to the northwest side of town. So we're going to keep an eye on that as it goes through the morning hours there. I think it's going to hit some drier air before it moves to us, and it's going to make it more sprinkle to spotty type ideas over that way. So again, we're going to see those cooler temperatures in southwest Virginia. Maybe they have a little less clouds, a little less fog this morning. Low 50s in Clintwood and Jonesville, 60s toward Moorhead and Jackson, out toward Somerset there, where things are a bit warmer, going up toward Ashland and Prestonsburg as well. Between 62 and 64 is the range there. Breakfast forecast this morning, we are going to see again a nice one overall. Some clouds will be back and forth throughout the morning, and some fog as well as temperatures slowly climb back into the low 60s by mid-morning and then low 80s by this afternoon. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. Well, coming up here on Mountain News this morning, over in Ukraine, as Russian forces pull back in some areas, evidence of atrocities start to be uncovered.